I will begin exactly at 2 o'clock, Melak.
Yes.
I would like to welcome everybody this afternoon for a special session. In this session, we will focus on conversion encounters in the Old Testament. Dr. Melak Tsegaw, a colleague of mine at the Adventist University, is going to teach you about this, and I wish you a good, nourishing presentation.
Melak Tsegaw, a faculty member at the Theological Seminary here, Adventist University of Africa. The title of my presentation is Conversion Encounters in the Old Testament, Analysis of Selected Narratives. It is acknowledged that a predominant portion of existing literature places primary emphasis on the New Testament. While the New Testament, with its Great Commission and historical narratives of early church expansion, naturally attracts substantial scholarly attention, it is imperative not to disregard the significance of the Old Testament. In fact, establishing a connection between the New Testament and its Old Testament origins will illuminate the depth of the biblical comprehension of conversion. Hence, this paper endeavors to incorporate the Old Testament into the discourse on the biblical conception of conversion. My presentation unfolds in the following manner. Firstly, it offers a succinct review of current literature to provide insights into prior scholarship on conversion within the context of the Old Testament. Secondly, it conducts an analysis of 4 selected conversion narratives, employing Lewis Rambo's conversion framework. Lastly, the paper concludes by drawing implications from the exploration, contributing to a comprehensive understanding of conversion in biblical terms. So let's start with conversion in the Old Testament, a brief literature review. Among the scholars who wrote on conversion in the Old Testament, William Barrick undertakes the task of addressing doubts that scholars have harbored regarding the presence of conversion in the Old Testament. Barrick presents a persuasive threefold argument to dispel such doubts. And Barrick's exposition highlights that Old Testament conversions are silent on the role of the Holy Spirit, while the instrument of conversion is identified as the Word of God. Central elements of this process include repentance, according to Barrick, faith, and earnest plea for forgiveness, ultimately culminating in a profound transformation of one's life. In a parallel exploration of conversion in the Old Testament, Christopher Wright examines the implication of conversion at both national and individual levels. He highlighted 3 key elements of a genuine conversion experience. Number 1, the rejection of the other deities. Number 2, inclusion in the worshiping community. And number 3, a radical and ethical transformation. Similarly, Andrew Dearman conducts a comprehensive analysis of Old Testament conversion episodes, categorizing them as either national or individual. He then concludes his study stating that if one thinks of conversion in the individual sense of embracing a new faith, then, according to him, the vast reaches of the Old Testament have some perspective to offer. If, on the other hand, one thinks in terms of conversion more broadly as the promised transformation of the cosmos, then Derman says one has to look forward to the eschaton. So, having reviewed these foundational works, this paper now proceeds to analyze selected conversion narratives within the Old Testament. The chosen narratives include the stories of Rahab, Ruth, Naaman, and Nebuchadnezzar. So within the Old Testament, conversion accounts can be examined for both national and individual perspective. On the national level, the Israelites themselves experienced conversion, often as a response to backsliding or apostasy. Simultaneously, individuals who were not part of the Israelite community also underwent conversion as they encountered and came to know Yahweh for the first time. In this presentation, we confine ourselves to the realm of individual conversion among non-Israelites. So within this specific context, we turn our attention to the stories of Rahab, Ruth, Naaman, and Nebuchadnezzar as fitting candidates for the selection criteria: individual and non-Israelites conversion. These narratives offer a glimpse into a transformative experiences of individuals from diverse backgrounds who, in their encounters with the God of the Israelites, underwent profound conversions. By focusing on these individuals, non-Israelite conversion stories, this study seeks to shed light on the intricate dynamics of faith and transformation within the Old Testament narrative. Now, moving on to the analysis, we found the seminal work of Lewis Rainbow, introducing us to a stage model that serves as an overarching framework in an in-depth exploration. This model delineates 7 stages, each of which can be regarded as fundamental elements within the conversion experience. These stages are context, crisis, quest, encounter, interaction, commitment, and consequence. So let's begin with the first. Within Rainbow's model, the initial stage is dedicated to the examination of the context in which the conversion unfolds. This stage is deemed the most comprehensive of all the stages, as it encompasses the entirety of the convert's world. Forces operating within this context can either facilitate or significantly impede the process of conversion. Furthermore, Rainbow discerns 2 distinct facets within the context: macro context, such as political structures, religious institutions, and economic frameworks, or micro context, such as family, friends, ethnic community, and the local neighborhood. In the examination of the macro context pertaining to the conversion experiences, as illustrated through the narratives of Rahab, Ruth, Naaman, and Nebuchadnezzar, it becomes evident that the prevailing political structures and religious institutions that enveloped them possessed the capacity to introduce substantial obstacles to their respective journeys of conversion. Nevertheless, it is crucial to acknowledge that the micro context played a pivotal and affirmative role in these conversions. For instance, Naaman received the support of his king to seek help from Israel, and Rahab was joined by her family members in her conversion journey. The next stage is presenting to us crisis, which serves as the catalyst for conversion within Rainbow's framework. This stage of conversion is distinctly evident in the narratives under investigation. As the Israelites approached Jericho, the city's inhabitants were gripped by profound fear. Rahab articulates this sentiment, stating in Joshua 2:9, "The fear of you," speaking to the Israelites, "has fallen upon us, and all the inhabitants of the land melt away before you." It was during this moment of crisis that Rahab encountered the spies, setting her conversion journey into motion. In the case of Ruth, her life had been marked by the loss of loved ones. When her mother-in-law Naomi decided to return to her people, it further triggered another crisis in Ruth's life. Again, this pivotal moment prompted her to reassess her values and attachments, ultimately initiating her path towards conversion. Naaman's crisis centered on his severe health condition, a debilitating skin disease that rendered his remarkable achievements unsatisfying. Despite exploring various remedies without success, his desperation led him to consent to seek the help of the prophets in Israel. Nebuchadnezzar also faced multiple crisis episodes, including the crisis of the lost dream, the fiery furnace ordeal, and a period of insanity. This crisis shook his faith in his deities and ultimately enabled him to recognize the power of the one true God of Israel. Now, this crisis stage naturally transitions to the quest stage, where potential converts embark on a journey to find solutions to their challenges and meaning in their lives. Rahab actively seized the opportunity to establish a connection with the Israelite spies. Similarly, Ruth pursued the option she believed would resolve her predicament. Rambo categorizes the intensity of this quest on a continuum ranging from active questing to passivity. Rahab and Ruth emerge as active questers, driven by their dissatisfaction and actively seeking new options. In contrast, Naaman may be characterized as receptive, as he did not initiate the search for change, but was open to receive recommendations. Nebuchadnezzar, on the other hand, may initially be seen as a passive quester, easily influenced by external forces. However, the final crisis pushed him towards receptivity. Then the subsequent stages in Rainbow's model revolve around the encounter and interaction between the advocate and the prospective convert. As the conversion journey progresses into these stages, prospective converts gain access to additional information, relational support, and the time necessary for transformative change to manifest in their lives. When we apply these stages to the analysis of Rahab, Ruth, Naaman, and Nebuchadnezzar's conversions, distinct encounter and interaction experiences become evident. Starting with Rahab, although the spies can be perceived as advocates in her narrative, they did not actively initiate her conversion. The steps she should take. Additionally, they later rescued her when they arrived to lay siege to the city. Similarly, Ruth took the initiative to convey her desire for conversion. However, Naomi, expected to play the role of advocate in leading Ruth to faith in the one true God, appeared initially reluctant and even discouraging. Nevertheless, the Targum of Ruth's story offers supplementary information that may alter our perspective. It's interesting. Let's see it. Ruth said, "Do not urge me to leave you, to go back from after you, for I desire to be a proselyte." Naomi said, "We are commanded to keep Sabbaths and holy days such that we may not walk more than 2,000 cubits." Ruth said, "Wherever you go, I'll go." Then Naomi said, "We are commanded not to lodge with Gentiles." Ruth said, "Where you lodge, I will lodge." And then again Naomi said, "We are commanded to keep 613 commandments." Ruth said, "What your people keep, I'll keep as if they were my people from before this." Naomi said, "We are commanded not to worship foreign gods." Ruth said, "Your God is my God." Naomi said, "We have 4 death penalties for guilty: stoning with stones, burning with fire, execution by the sword, and hanging on a tree." Ruth said, "How you die, I shall die." Naomi said, "We have a cemetery." Ruth said, "And there I will be buried." And do not say any more, "May the Lord do this to me and more against me, if even death shall separate me from you." Well, this is not written in the Bible, but it just opens our eyes, taking this tradition that Naomi's apparent reluctance to dissuade Ruth might have been an attempt to ensure Ruth made an informed decision rather than resorting to emotional manipulation. Conversely, in the cases of Naaman and Nebuchadnezzar, the individuals who played the role of advocates actively engaged in interactions that facilitated the transformative change in the lives of these converts. For Naaman, it was his faithful mate who directed him to seek help from the prophet of God, Elisha. Although Elisha's initial reception may have seemed less than welcoming, the subsequent interaction between Elisha and Naaman propelled the conversion process forward. In Nebuchadnezzar's case, Daniel emerges as an exemplary advocate whose life and messages profoundly impacted Nebuchadnezzar's transformation. Now, the final 2 stages in Rainbow's conversion framework mark the culmination of the process, signifying the moment when converts relinquish their old life and commit to embarking on a new journey. These stages encapsulate the critical juncture where the transformation is both solidified and initiated. In the case of Rahab, her commitment becomes evident when she willingly endangered her life to shelter the spies, diligently followed the instructions provided to her, and ultimately became integrated into the community of God's people. Similarly, Ruth's commitment materialized when she steadfastly refused to return and instead chose to demonstrate kindness and unwavering loyalty to her mother-in-law. For Naaman and Nebuchadnezzar, their commitment is underscored by their public declarations, affirming that the only true God deserving of their worship is Yahweh. Naaman's proclamation asserts in 2 Kings 5:15, "Behold now," he said, "I know there is no God in all the earth but in Israel." Nebuchadnezzar's declaration, found in Daniel 4:37, praises and honors the King of Heaven, acknowledging the righteousness and justice of his ways. While the commitment of all 4 individuals is not in question, the consequences or effects of their conversion experiences may not be uniformly assertive. So some scholars raise doubts regarding the sustained nature of Nebuchadnezzar's conversion, considering his vacillation in the previous encounters, which you find in Daniel 2 and 3. Nonetheless, Nebuchadnezzar's journey can serve as a testament that conversion is not necessarily a one-time event. It may encompass multiple phases and periods of spiritual struggle. A progression in Nebuchadnezzar's appropriation of faith in the true God becomes apparent when we examine the 3 confessions he made. His first confession reads in Daniel 2:47, "Truly, your God is God of gods and Lord of kings and revealer of mysteries, for you have been able to reveal this mystery." So this first one is a recognition of God's ability. But the second response demonstrated a deeper recognition, which was recorded in Daniel chapter 3, after the fiery furnace episode. So he said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego." He now praised God, who has sent the angel and delivered his servants, who trusted in him and set aside the king's command and yielded up their bodies rather than serve God the Almighty. So now, after he acknowledged that, he even went on and said that no one should speak against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So we can see that there is a move here in the second confession. But the third confession signifies a personal appropriation of faith. That was after the period of 7 years insanity in Daniel 4:37. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, for all his works are right and his ways are just, and those who walk in pride he is able to humble. The consequences or effects of Naaman's conversion have also sparked extensive debate, particularly in light of his query posed to the prophet Elijah in 2 Kings 5:17-19. When Naaman requested 2 mule loads of earth from Israel, it raised questions about the lasting impact of his conversion. He expressed concerns about fulfilling his obligation in his homeland and avoiding syncretism. Well, while definitive answers to these profound questions remain elusive, Naaman's story underscores the importance of providing support for new converts. The outcomes for Rahab and Ruth differ from those of Naaman and Nebuchadnezzar. Rahab and Ruth had the opportunity to assimilate into the faith community that practiced their newly embraced beliefs. Moreover, in accordance with God's sovereign will and plan, they were incorporated into the lineage of the Messiah, Christ, the Son of God. Now, in conclusion, the analysis of the conversion narratives of Rahab, Ruth, Naaman, and Nebuchadnezzar within the framework of Lewis' rainbow stages of conversion provides valuable insights into the intricate dynamics of religious conversion, shedding light on the multifaceted nature of the transformative process. Each conversion story showcases distinct facets of rainbow's stages, from the initial crisis that triggers a reevaluation of core values to the subsequent quest for meaning and the encounter with advocates who guide the way. These encounters and interactions hold a pivotal role in shaping the trajectory of conversion, with some individuals taking an active role in seeking faith, while others receive guidance from advocates who influence their path. The commitment stage represents the climax of the conversion process, where converts make a conscious choice to embrace a new faith and way of life. Rahab's courageous acts of sheltering the spies and joining God's people, Ruth's unwavering loyalty to the God of her mother-in-law, and the public declarations of Naaman and Nebuchadnezzar all exemplify this commitment. However, the consequences and enduring effects of these conversions vary. While Rahab and Ruth found a supportive community and lasting place in the lineage of the Messiah, questions linger regarding the sustainability of Naaman's faith and the depth of Nebuchadnezzar's commitment. In conclusion, the conversion narratives of Rahab, Ruth, Naaman, and Nebuchadnezzar are not just historical accounts, but reflective mirrors that allow us to explore the complexities of faith, identity, and transformation. They serve as timeless testimonies of the intricate and deeply personal nature of religious conversion, reminding us that the journey of faith is a dynamic process marked by diverse encounters, challenges, and outcomes. These narratives invite us to contemplate the role of advocates, the enduring impact of crisis, and the significance of commitment in our own spiritual journeys, underscoring the profound and enduring relevance of these ancient stories in the exploration of faith and conversion. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Melak, for this fine presentation. We have 5 minutes for some questions and answers. And I'm just wondering if any of the people would have a question. I don't really see that there is a question raised. Maybe I could just raise one question related to the story of Ruth. Could you say, again, give a little summary of how you see the conversion of Ruth and how that could still be relevant for today?
Yeah, thank you very much. Ruth's conversion is considered to be one of the most prominent conversion stories in the Old Testament. I would say that analyzing her conversion through the... Hello? Can you hear me now? It looks like I was frozen. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Yeah, I was saying that Ruth's conversion is one of the prominent conversion stories that we find in the Old Testament. And looking at it through the 7 stages, we can really see that there was a crisis that initiated the conversion. And what I found to be a little bit interesting is that Naomi, who was supposed to play the advocate role, as I explained there, seems not to be very aggressive. However, we can see that the way she continued to walk with her, especially as they ended up to live together, can be a good environment for Ruth's conversion to come out strong. So I would say we can learn from Ruth's conversion experience. When we closely analyze it, we can draw implications for us today. Especially, probably, I would say, I also highlighted in the presentation, she did not play really on her emotion, as we can see that Ruth has been pushed back, but she persisted to come forward. So we need to also give that due attention. Can you unmute? I can't hear you.
Sorry, thank you for your explanation. I see that's now 2:30 and we have a hard time. Would appreciate to hear more about this. Thank you very much for your presentation, and I would also want to thank the audience for their attendance and to invite you to a next session to log in for that. Thank you.
Thank you.